right, we got some good NFL banter going already. Got some Giants fans, Browns, Bengals. Wow, Titans. Got a little bit of everything. Chargers.
There it is. Before we get started, Chris, I do got to call out. I'm a Buffalo Bills fan living in Nashville, Tennessee, and I didn't have a choice to put this jersey on. So I know some of my friends at Harness are here. I see you in the chat, Jenny, but definitely a Bills fan first. So uh, don't knock the Titans, but it's definitely Bills Mafia season.
All right, we got some Bears in here as well. Who all has already drafted for fantasy as well? We got a lot of fantasy football players too. Nice, nice, cool deal. Well, let's give it maybe one more minute and then we can get kicked off. But definitely, if you haven't already, drop your name and where you're from into the chat, and then your NFL team as well. And we'll get going here in just a second.
Yeah, definitely drop your name and location, echoing off Chris. In a few slides, we're going to announce, a really, really cool thing that Ambition's running for the attendees of this webinar. A flight might be included in that. So if I see a Jets fan in there, Brian, good name, by the way, that'll definitely help you out.
Awesome. Yeah, this is the first time we've been giving away something this big, so pretty excited about everyone joining on. We've got some really good attendance already. So let's go ahead and let's get right into it. I know many of you are probably interested. If you're a customer, you may want to run a fantasy style competition with your team here in the next couple of weeks. If you're a prospect, if you haven't used Ambition before, you're probably interested to see like how the heck do you guys do this? Like want a little deeper insight into what running a fantasy competition in Ambition is like. So hopefully we will be able to serve both of those purposes for you. If you have questions throughout, please drop them in the chat. We have someone from our team monitoring that chat. So yeah, let's jump right in. So if you're familiar with Ambition, you know that we started with this idea of fantasy football for sales teams. So the Harvard Business Review did a study on us back in 2014 where we saw one of our customers was able to lift their outcomes, some of their revenue numbers by 200% just by running a fantasy style competition. And so ever since then, we've really been building on that idea, and the platform obviously has grown quite a bit across the years. But at our heart, at our purpose was originally this idea. So we're going to jump right in today and kind of talk all about it. But before we get too far, let's do some quick introductions. Tell you why the heck we're the ones talking to you today. So I'm Chris O'Connor. I'm the Director of Account Management here at Ambition. Prior to overseeing the account management team, I oversaw our sales development team, which was really heavy on competitions. And then prior to running the sales development org, I was a customer myself. So I brought Ambition on at another company and used it for competitions and things like this. So excited to chat more about this today. Brian?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. My name is Brian Liebel. I'm the current Director of Sales Development here at Ambition. Prior to this role, I worked for Chris as a manager and as a rep. Very similar to Chris, I used Ambition at two companies in the past. And that's essentially what drew me to obviously work over here, the belief in the mission, but super excited to dive into some fun fantasy stuff and obviously some super tactical stuff that's going to help you with your revenue generating numbers.
So before we get in, who did everybody pick as their first top draft pick in fantasy? I think Stephon Diggs was my number one pick. Bills guy.
Yeah, as a Bills fan, that's a smart pick, Chris. I was I was in a fantasy draft with my family. I made the mistake of joining the Liebel Family League,
Oh boy.
and I cashed out. My aunt drafted Dak Prescott first. My uncle drafted 4 quarterbacks. So I'm feeling good about my family league.
Yeah.
But in my real league, I took Christian McCaffrey with that first pick. So
Strong.
yeah,
Strong.
definitely a fun season to get going. And it really ties to like the spirit of sales, right? So what we're gonna get into, we're gonna talk about A players, B players, and how you really kind of leverage all that team cohesion together through ambition. So, man, like Chris said, we've never done something like this on a webinar, but super, super excited for all the attendees on here today. At the end of this webinar, we are going to give away a free flight to Ambition's Customer Summit here in Nashville, Tennessee in October. One of the really exciting, different kinds of conferences out there. It's not in your boring, dreary hotel convention room. We're going to be at Brooklyn Bowl in Nashville, which is a super live concert venue. There's bowling alleys, there's bars everywhere. And really the networking and spirit of Ambition's Peak Summit has grown over the past couple of years. We have some speakers from some amazing companies coming in, Zoom Video, T-Mobile, orgs that you're all super familiar with, and we are really, really excited to have one of you join us. So make sure you're tuned in throughout. One of our marketing leaders is monitoring the chat, and at the end of this, we are going to announce that person, and we will contact you at the end via phone or email. We're both sales development guys, so if we don't have your number, we'll find you.
All right, so let's get right into it. We'll announce the winner there at the end, but we get a lot of questions here at Ambition about, yeah, you run competitions and we understand the importance of running a competition, but what's the difference between running a normal competition and running a fantasy style competition? And it's a great question, and different competitions serve different purposes. So here at Ambition, and another example of a competition we run is a call blitz, right? So it's a short 2 to 3 hour type competition, and the purpose is really to get a quick lift in a certain metric, right? But for a fantasy style competition that you're going to be running for 6, 8, 10 weeks, what we're really going after is that behavioral change within your reps and within your team, kind of a cultural shift. And so we'll talk about specific metrics that we want to look at for each one, different time frames, but effectively, you are trying to really change the habits and the behaviors of your team over this time period. I think they say doing something 21 times becomes habit. If you think about some of these metrics you're doing them over and over and over every day throughout this 8 to 10 week period, it's going to become habit. So that's part of the big reason why we would run a longer term fantasy style competition as opposed to a short, quick hit competition. So there are really like 5 main elements. Like if you go into Ambition to create this competition, there's going to be 5 things that you're going to have to specify before you get going. And these are really the key elements to creating the competition. So the very first one is time frame. So I just mentioned, probably I would say an 8-week competition is the best bet. And typically what you're going to do is reserve 2 of those weeks for a playoff at the end. And so 6, 8, 10 weeks, I think is going to be good for that. Again, you're looking for that long-term behavioral change. You're also looking for a lift in both your activity type metrics and then your outcome metrics as well. So we'll get a little bit more into that, but right within Ambition, it's going to make it super easy for you to choose that time frame. It's going to give you a preview of each of your competitions start, when the playoffs are going to be going. So it makes it really easy for you to create it right there in that frame.
When you think about a competition, yes, it is very, very common that a lot of salespeople are competitive, but not everyone on your team is, right? Not everybody on your team is motivated by a prize or motivated by bragging rights or motivated by money. There's a really, really intricate blend of people on your team. And it's really important to style your competition to really suit every kind of persona of salesperson that works for you. So when choosing teams, I think this is a really important and pivotal way that you can really create a sense of culture. You can drive team cohesion. You can get people interacting with other people in your org that they may not normally work with. When you think about selecting, competition teams, Ambition makes it really easy from a hierarchy level. You can do, Europe versus EMEA, or EMEA versus APAC. You can do East Coast versus West Coast. You can do Nashville versus Buffalo. You can break it down into managers. So maybe you're a director on this call with 6 managers under you. You can have Team Chris versus Team Brian. You can mix and match different roles, right? So you can have your enterprise SDRs go against your SMB SDRs. You can have your territory account executives go against your inbound account executives. So the way you splice and dice in Ambition, it's super easy to do, but from a strategic perspective as a leader, you want to think about, how do I make the most even team possible, right? So every single sales team has got their Patrick Mahomes out there. There's crushing quota month in and month out. Then everyone's got that Kirk Cousins, right? That they're pretty
C player,
yeah.
maybe,
But they do the job,
Yeah.
right? And man, those people are so important. And nothing is worse than being in a competition as a rep. I want you to rewind your mind to when you were sales reps and you were in a competition and you knew you were hitting your quota, but there was that person, that guy or gal that was so far ahead of you that anytime a competition was ran, you knew you didn't have a shot, right? We all remember that moment, and it's really deflating, right? So you don't want a competition to be deflating. And when you create teams that are balanced and you have Mahomes and Kirk Cousins on the same team, it really drives that behavior change at every level. The next thing, this is a fun thing that we like doing at Ambition, is cross-functional collaboration, right? If you are an Ambition customer, you're familiar with our activity scores. So Chris is going to talk about how we normalize scoring KPIs to allow you to have an SDR compete against an AE, to have a CSM compete against a sales manager. Ambition is going to give you the ability to do that in a fair way that makes business sense. And really then the last thing that I like calling out, and this is really driven top down from leadership, is having team themes, right? Really having fun with it, going all in, right? Whether it's picking your favorite NFL team, picking your geography, making up some crazy name, but really getting buy-in from leadership to drive, a team theme, and having a team leader on each one of those competition teams that's going to motivate maybe the quiet or more introverted person, or that's going to help support that person that may not be the loud outgoing type. So Ambition makes it super easy, but think about some of those dynamics as you run a competition. You don't want it to be deflating. You want your teams to be balanced. You want to really drive that cross-functional collaboration, because at the end of the day, it's going to help you lift those numbers and drive that change. So Chris will dive into some of that scoring next.
Yes. I wanted to double down on one thing that you did say there, Brian, but you talk to customers all the time. I talk to customers all the time. One thing that we often hear is, our team is dispersed, or we're bringing the team back into the office. We're having trouble getting that like cohesive culture that we used to have. We're trying to get our AEs to work better with our SDRs, whatever the dynamics may be. The real secret sauce here with Ambition is it's going to actually allow you to let those people compete, like Brian said. And I think that's something that's so unique about the platform, and goes really a long way. Not only you're lifting your KPIs, but you're also like building that culture that is so important in our office.
Yeah, couldn't have said that better.
Well, cool. Well, let's talk about scoring now. So if you're trying to run a competition outside of Ambition, this is where it gets really tricky, right? We've got a crazy awesome like data engine that's going to allow you to get all of your metrics from Salesforce or whatever your CRM is, right here with Ambition. So you have your metric library, and you can choose, hey, if we're going to be running a 10-week competition, we don't want to just focus on calls, right? We don't want to just focus on some leading indicators. We want this to be all encompassing. We want there to be activity metrics based in here. We want there to be like revenue, numbers in here that we can make sure that we're really moving the needle for the company. And so one of the really cool things about Ambition, if you're a customer, you're familiar with this idea of an activity score and an objective score. So if you're not familiar, let me break it down for you really quickly. So when we talk about an activity score, and if Brian was my rep on my team, I would come up with the 4 or 5 metrics that make up a good day in his particular role. So if he's a sales development rep, it might be emails, calls, how many conversations he has, what's the talk time on those conversations, any qualified leads he passes over, things like that we expect in a day that he can control. That's going to make up his activity score, and each of those metrics can be weighted at a different level because each one's not created equal. And so activity score for the day is weighted on 100 scales. So when Brian hits 100 activity score for the day, he's done all that we've asked him to for the day. So that's your activity score. On the other side is the outputs, and that's the objective score. And so those are your more like quota type metrics that we're shooting for. And again, same concept there, where you can have multiple metrics, weight them differently, things like that. And so because of those normalizing of 0 to 100 scores for each role, so you can have an activity score for a sales development rep, a completely different one for an AE, CSM, AM. That's what's going to allow you to compete on that level playing field across all these different roles. And so I would just think really critically about what metrics you're trying to impact with this competition, what behaviors you want to change with this competition, and make sure that those metrics are baked into either those activity scores or those objective scores, so that we're truly getting the impact that you're trying to drive with the competition. So you can kind of see a couple of the screenshots here live from within Ambition. So it's really easy to choose the metrics that you want to base it on. And then when it comes to like actually keeping score and keeping track of where we're at, Ambition does all the hard work there for you as well. So keeps all the teams informed of win percentage. If anybody's on a certain like win streak, it's going to tabulate all of those things for you so that you can not have to worry about geeking out on all the numbers. It's going to do that for you, and then keep everybody excited and informed of where they're standing in the competition.
I think something I would add there too that Chris mentioned, there's a lot of dummies on LinkedIn that'll tell you quantity versus quality, right? We're firm believers over here that you can have both, right? And ambition, and not even just ambition, but good leadership, when you target that perfect blend of quality and quantity metrics, ambition's going to really allow you to drive towards those outcomes. So dials are great, but connects are better, right? And connects are great, but meetings set are even better, right? And meetings set are great, but we need those things to hold. And if they hold, we really want them to flip into a qualified lead. And when you're really strategic around some of those quality conversion metrics plus those volume metrics, again, the lift, that 200% lift Chris mentioned earlier, that's kind of how you get there. So you don't listen to the quality versus quantity thing. You can definitely have both.
You can have both. Yeah. And the last thing on this slide, I failed to mention, but it's really important. When you're going to run a competition this big, you certainly want to get buy-in from all levels of leadership, right? Because hopefully you're going to have some really big impact on your KPIs, which leadership's going to really care about. And then having them kind of chirp and chime in on, hey, it looks like the sales development reps out of Nashville are killing the group out of Texas. It really goes a long way to have some helpful banter and just visibility across the organization. So that's certainly a key thing that we tell our customers to make sure to do as well. All right, so we've made it through the regular season. We've got all of our teams' performance here, and then this is where the playoffs comes in. This is where it really gets exciting. So, depending on how big of a competition you're running, you can have your winners bracket, and then we can also have the losers bracket as well. But you can kind of just see a quick mock-up here. I would say if you're going to be running these with your teams, come up with some really like unique names for this one. We've got just sales development reps and account executives, but come up with some fun themes like Brian was saying. Throw some pictures in there, all of those kind of things. But this is really like the bracketed style competition that we talk about, and so typically the playoffs are going to be 2-3 weeks. You can kind of specify what that is depending on how many people are competing. But Ambition's going to do the brackets for you. It makes it really easy for you to send those out in Slack, send those out on a TV, to just keep everybody informed of the excitement and things like that. So this is what the actual bracket would look like in Ambition.
So before we move into obviously the fun part, let's I know Chris and I have been talking at everyone a lot. Let's make sure everyone's still alive. Chicken wings, by far the best appetizer for football. There's one correct answer for the condiment that you eat with chicken wings. Put a 1 in the chat if you're a blue cheese person. Put a 2 in the chat if you're a ranch person. If you answer wrong, I'm not going to tell you the right answer.
Which one was
announce that.
One was blue.
1 is blue cheese,
Okay.
2 is ranch.
I'm seeing a lot of 2s.
Yeah.
I like Greg's answer.
I like
there.
what Greg said. Yeah. Evan, we may need to take this offline.
A lot of ranch fans.
Yeah. That's a different thing. Jenny knows the right answer. Well, hey, like a competition of this length, right? When you're running a fantasy style competition, it's really important, like Chris said, to get buy-in from leadership, to plan it the right way. I mean, to really invest your budget into something like this because of the impact it can have on your org. Don't ruin your competition and the fire that you're going to light under your team's butts by having a gift card as the prize.
Please, no. No gift cards.
At the end of the day, it's the easiest thing to probably disperse, and it's the easiest thing to get going. But man, there is nothing, a gift card is not going to motivate the majority of your team. Yep, every now and then somebody might have an Amazon wish list before their wedding and they may go hard, but everyone might want a little extra DoorDash money. But at the end of the day, there are way better ways to motivate your team and really keep the fire of the competition going throughout. 6 to 8 weeks is a long time, right? Think about it from a quarter perspective. You're going to build the competition up for about 2 weeks. You're going to launch it and it's going to go around 2 months. And then that last 2 weeks is kind of the end, right? It's over. Your winners get announced. And man, it's really hard to keep momentum, right? It is really hard to keep momentum. Without Ambition, I don't know how, orgs do that. With Ambition, we make it a little easier, but some ideas behind prizes. We get a little weird over here. Some of the things that we've given away are experiences. So a round trip flight to anywhere in the country, similar to what we're about to give away to y'all. Think about concert tickets. Think about NFL tickets, right? Yeah. A sporting event. You really should be investing a decent amount of money in the prize towards this because of the impact it's going to have. But not everyone's motivated by, prizes, right? Bragging rights is a big thing. There are a lot of reps on your team that are going to run through a wall for you because you're a great manager and they don't want to let you down, right? They don't want to let their teammates down. So another fun thing that we've done over here are like punishments for the losing teams. We've done a few. We did one where the losing manager had to sit on a dunk tank. So think about when you're at the fair and there's a clown and you throw balls and he falls into the water. Unfortunately, I lost to Chris.
That was him.
And we'll post some videos on LinkedIn, but I had to sit outside of our office in the middle of Nashville on a dunk tank and just get publicly humiliated being dunked into this water tank. So bragging rights and punishments are really good ways that folks get motivated. Chris is going to tell a story in a second. You want to jump to the next slide quick and we can pop back. This is a really fun one that is awesome.
Yeah, we one of the more famous things that we've done here at Ambition from like a spiff prize standpoint was, instead of like, yeah, giving somebody a cash card or something like that, it said, hey, we're going to pay to have your face put on a billboard somewhere, in town that you might see it, your family might see it. And you basically get a chance to like Photoshop what it is, but we at Ambition are going to sponsor that billboard on your behalf. And so what a crazy, like, unique, fun thing to do. If you won this competition, this is actually a live picture of our VP of sales when he won a competition years ago. And this is downtown Nashville. So I think it was up for a full month or something like that. So just get creative. Think about things like this that are really going to like make a splash, make your team think, oh my gosh, like how wild would it be to be have my own billboard downtown. So that's just an idea that's been a fan favorite here at Ambition.
Kind of wrapping that up, I believe I missed who said it in the chat, but the last thing I call out to is giving options, right? So having like a threshold or tiered system of options. You may have a team of 4 people, 5 people, 10 people, however big that team is. That Patrick Mahomes person may be motivated by the $500 Amazon gift card, or PTO, cash bonus, whatever. But that other opposite, the Kirk Cousins, I hate going back to that, but well, I can get my face up on a billboard. That sounds great, right?
Yeah.
So like everyone's motivated differently, and making sure the team has options to choose from is also crucial to driving the success of that competition.
Jenny had a good question in the chat. She asked about what to keep in mind for running this with smaller teams. I think that's a great question. Not everyone has an EMEA team and an APAC team and just this big fantasy style competition. But I would say one of the like prizes that I've always seen go over really well with smaller teams would be dinner with the CEO. For the winner or the winning team. That's something that relatively is not like a big expenditure like a billboard would be, but dinner on the team like is a really fun thing. And again, that also gets leadership involved as well, and that visibility for some of those reps, which, if I'm a frontline rep, busting my ass every day, like dinner with the CEO sounds like really cool to me. Not often I get to bend someone's ear like that. So that would be a good idea.
Yeah, that's a really good question and good call out there, Chris. The last thing here I think is super important, right, is having multiple ways to win. So yes, the true winner of the competition, deserves the best prize, but having a season MVP, right, having a best of the rest. So once you get into the later stage of the regular season, not every team is going to make the playoffs. And in order to keep that, bottom 20, 30% moving, you're going to want to have them, you're going to want to have a prize to keep them motivated. So having obviously your playoff winner, a season MVP,
Yeah.
and then a best of the rest or a best of that, for lack of a better term, losers bracket. That's how you kind of keep the fire going across the org. So yeah, those are some ideas. I noticed in the chat, a lot of folks had some other really great ideas, but that this is kind of the lifeblood and way that you, again, I've said it a few times, but keep the fire going throughout the comp.
All right, so hopefully that was helpful as we walked through some of those screenshots. If you're a customer, you can see exactly how to create those fantasy style competitions, maybe some good ideas within that of how to score it, how to celebrate it, how to get more people just really excited about the competition. And if you're a prospect, if you're not currently using Ambition, hopefully you saw some ideas today that piqued your interest and want to learn a little bit more about. We're happy to answer questions now. So we can just completely open it up. We can talk fantasy football drafts. We can talk ranch and blue cheese, whatever questions that you have. Go ahead and throw those in the chat. Yeah, I think these were some good ideas there. I saw of some folks
Yeah.
different trips and things like that.
There we go. Eddie, great question. Half blue cheese, half ranch. I would assume you're an innovator and probably one of the smartest people I've ever met. That is an amazing blend. I'm still a traditionalist, right? There are the traditionalists that the chicken wing was created in Buffalo, where that's sacrilegious. But I have had the blue cheese and ranch mixture. That'll change your life. Uh-oh, Greg. Oh no. Greg, Chris is going to think I'm just pushing him out, but again, as the Buffalo expert, a bone out is not a chicken wing. That is a boneless wing. That doesn't count.
Chicken finger?
Yeah. If you order bone out chicken wings in Buffalo, you get shunned, but definitely bone in.
Ben knows what's up.
Yeah, it's a large.
I think Ben at IGS. Yeah. Awesome. Well, cool. Well, we've got a lot of chicken wing banter. I know we still need to crown our winner for the flight. So we are tabulating that, looking at that in the background right now. Any other questions on the fantasy style competitions? Everybody feel good? Would love some feedback if you end up running one.
Yeah. We'll take Pierce's question. Any specifics on how Ambition runs this style of competition? What KPIs do you track? What teams are against each other? And then for SDRs specifically.
Yeah.
You can take that, Chris.
Yeah. So the last fantasy style competition that we ran, it wasn't football theme. It was wrestling theme. It was like a SmackDown type competition. And so we had, we picked 5 different leaders within the company, and then they all had like a wrestling pseudonym. So I was the Rock, Chris O'Connor. We had a Hulk Hogan. We had, all these different wrestlers, and each of them on their team had, I think it was like 4 different folks on the team. And so they had an SDR, they had an AE, an AM, and a CSM. And so we had all those different roles represented on each team. And then each of them had different scorecards. And so the metrics, again, as we talked earlier, were a mix of activity style metrics and then outcomes as well. So for my team specifically, we were looking at, scheduling EBRs with our customers. And then there were, renewal numbers, expansion numbers on top of that. Brian's team, the SDRs were more focused on like activity scores was the calls and
connects. Yeah, the metric we chose was the activity score, and then we had a pipeline metric. So average ACV was built into that for the SDR piece. The last thing I'd add there with that style competition, when you truly get the whole org bought in, the energy changes. So our marketing team supported that competition. We had Ambition SummerSlam koozies, Ambition SummerSlam mugs. So like we had a lot of just really cool swag around the competition that definitely made it a lot more real.
Yeah,
it was cool. Eddie, you saw the question about building a fantasy style competition live. Chris is definitely ready to do that. Do you want to do that before or after we announce the winner?
Yeah, we can go ahead and announce the winner, and then Eddie, definitely hang on, and anyone else who wants to look live in an Ambition, we can show you how to walk through creating that competition. All right. So the moment that many of you have been waiting for here. So we are going to announce the winner of the free flight to Nashville. All right, so the winner is Greg Goodrich from Echo Global Logistics. So Greg, big congrats to you. Hopefully you're able to join us in Nashville October 24th, because your flight is taken care of, buddy.
And Greg, the other part of that is you with Chris and I. So we're going to take you to get some bone-in wings. It's definitely going to be a good time for sure. And then, yeah, the last call out there, Greg, Mari from our marketing team is going to send you an email with all of those details. But super thankful for everyone's participation in the chat today. Really awesome learning more about kind of what you're doing with your teams. A lot of those prize ideas everyone had earlier were just amazing. The deck is going to be sent out, so you'll have access to all this information. And then Chris and I are super open to connecting on LinkedIn, just chatting it up. Definitely would love to talk to some of you all beyond this. Moving forward, we are going to, Chris is going to create a contest live in Ambition for those customers that are on here that want to kind of see that in action. And then for those that aren't customers and just want to see it in action, definitely hang on. But yeah, definitely appreciated kind of everyone's participation. So Chris, I'll kick it over to you to dive into some live contest creation.
Awesome. Let's get this pulled up. I'm gonna stop sharing real quick.
And then I did see we'll come back to that question at the end after this. I saw that as well, Mari.
All right, so we are in our demo site and we're gonna just create a competition here. So once you pull up the create competition option, you've got two main categories here. So your challenge and your fantasy style competition. We've been focused all day today on fantasy. Your challenge, that's going to be everything else in the competition category. So it's really straightforward here, guys. It's you're going to name your competition. We also have the ability for you to create this and set it live, or you can keep it hidden in the background. A lot of times if you're unsure how this is going to look when it's done, like keep it in hidden mode so that the reps don't see it until you feel really comfortable with all the aspects of the competition. So this is where you're going to set your time frame. So start date, how many weeks, how many playoffs. We're just going to keep those static where they're at. And then this is where we're going to choose competitors. So, Brian went through all this, but are you going to do location versus location, or team versus team, or manager versus manager, role versus role? We've got all of those options in here. For right now, let's do a role-based competition and say we want to pit the account executives, account managers, and sales development reps against each other. So we choosing those teams, and then we're going to add the scoring parameters. So this is where you get creative in what works for your team, what metrics you're trying to lift. For us today, we're going to look at activity score. And the scoring type, we will do value. You can see there's a lot of options when it comes to scoring here. There's a lot of weird scenarios in competitions where Brian's going out on vacation for a week, and it's helpful to like bench him so he doesn't impact his team. So we can facilitate a lot of those different exceptions within the scoring as well. And you're going to want to add multiple scoring parameters here. So definitely don't just do activity score. So you'll want to add, I'm going to add objective score as well. And we can always choose whether we want to go on the value of that or points. Since this is just a 0 to 100 score, we're going to just keep that as the value. There's a max value too. So if you want to say like, hey, nobody can go over 150 or something like that, depending on your activity scores, you plug those in.
The max value is where you can dial in that like quantity versus quality thing. I think someone mentioned show it specifically to like sales development, right? You probably don't want someone making 200 dials a day if their connect rate is really low. That's probably negative to the business. So like capping like max values on some of those metrics is obviously very easy to do here in Ambition, and that's kind of like a real world example of when and why you would do that if you're looking more at those stronger activity metrics. Yeah, same thing there, Greg. Like every team is structured differently, but if you do have, just say you're territory based and Joe's in Dallas, and man, Dallas, no matter what, is
Hot
just
market.
Yeah, hot market versus Rochester, New York. Yes, that's another really good way to cap and make the kind of competition fair across the board.
There's another question around, let's see, are we able to score them based off a combined total of different metrics? Yeah, it's a great question. So you've got your scoring here, and I chose to do the scoring as value, but you could do points, and you could say, hey, for every qualified meeting that you set, you get 5 points. When that moves to an SQL, you're going to get an additional 5 points. And then when that moves to proposal stage, let's say, you get an additional 10 points or something like that. And so you can just add all those together in a combined score for the team. And that's really it. You've got all of that there, and then once you've created the competition, we saw some screenshots there, but I'll show you what it looks like here live in the system. All right, so this is a competition that has already passed, but these were the final results that you can see. It's accumulated for us here. This was the bracket for the playoffs. And then you can also toggle over and see the season standings as well. So yeah, so that's kind of what it looks like right within Ambition. Any other questions on that? I think Edward, that question was coming from you. But if there's anything else, let us know. That is a great question, Greg. You can add an odd number of teams. And what Ambition is going to do is have a phantom player, is what we call it, that's going to be slotted in there. And I believe what it's going to be doing is averaging from the full team. So it's going to be an average. So that way you can have odd numbered teams.
Yeah, nothing's more embarrassing when a team loses to the Phantom. That's happened before, but also nothing more motivating than losing to a computer. But yeah, it takes the average score and allows you to have a really just smooth competition.
Yeah, good questions.
Man, we're coming up. Everyone loves this sales cliche. It looks like we're going to give you some time back in your day. But before we do that, any final questions, thoughts, comments? Awesome. Well, again, for those that joined in, feel free to connect with Chris and I on LinkedIn. Be sure to follow Ambition. Even if you didn't win the flight, like Greg, if you are coming to our peak
Please
summit,
come. Yeah.
definitely hit us up and hang out. We're gonna do a happy hour together. It's a really great event. If you go to our website, you'll be able to find more. There is a link in the comments, but we're gonna have some really amazing speakers.
Yeah.
Live in Nashville. So appreciate you all. Go Bills.
Go Titans.
We'll see
We'll
you.
see y'all.
Keith, Greg Floyd Summit.